Hey, I'm Bethany, and I'm the creator behind the Simplified Piano method. I am so excited to share this video with you. It's an inside look at a tutorial that's normally shared with our chord sheet library members only. So this tutorial will give you a sneak peek into what an extended tutorial looks like, learning chords like sus chords, seven chords, split chords, and so on. A great way for you to get more added value and to support our ministry, you can join our membership and get exclusive access to these kinds of tutorials and so much more. Check out the description below if you'd like to know more. Thanks for your time, and now on to the tutorial.
Stand on mountains.
Hey friends, this is You Raise Me Up in the Key of G Extended, and this is where I am layering back in chords that I've once taken out of the chord sheets that I've given to you in the tutorials that I've done in the past, because oftentimes when you see these extended chords, they look scary, they look overwhelming. So we take them out, now we're layering them back in for you. So this is chords like suspended chords, split chords, two chords, 4 chords, 5 chords, 7 chords, all these complex chords that might seem overwhelming, but they are fun to work towards, and they add so much color and depth and beauty to your music, while we're still going to keep the rhythm simple. Okay, so let's jump into it. I'm gonna teach you a ton of new chords in this song. And it's something to work towards. And I'm going to also teach you how to, maybe if you just want to add in 1 or 2 of the chords that I teach you into your song and keep the other ones simplified. So I'm going to show you how to kind of essentially start at 1 or 2 new ones, build up to all the chords I'm going to teach you in this song. Okay, so there's ways to baby step your way to getting to play the full extended version. And you can always play the simplified version that you'll find in your membership as well. And I always suggest you start there. Okay, so in the key of G, we have 3 major chords, right? We have G chord, C, and D. Those are the 3 major chords that make up the key of G. Then we have an E minor. So that's our little kind of cousins. So we have the 3 sisters, whatever you want to say, 3 siblings, and then we have sister cousin E minor. Okay, so when we look at G, there's lots of different ways to play the G chord. So today I'm going to show you 5 different ways in this song that they change up the G chord and play it different ways. Okay, don't let that overwhelm you. Let's just go back to the basics. What's the G chord, right? We look for the group of 3 black notes and play G, B, D, and that's a G chord, right? Okay, this next chord that I'm going to teach you is a 5. And so I want you to begin to understand what the 5 does to a chord, so that you can memorize it, so that if you come across a chord sheet that has a C5 or a D5, you know what that's doing to the chord. Okay, you memorize the tool, not necessarily just memorize the chord. Okay, hope that makes sense. So here's a G chord. G5, how I play it, is I just play it like shell. So we kind of strip out the 3rd finger of the chord. So you're just playing the 1 and the 5. It kind of has this open sound to it. There's no harmony, right? Because we stripped out the 3rd. Okay, so here's the G5. Pretty simple. Okay, all right, so G sus. How I play G sus, I enjoy playing it 1, 4, 5. And all I'm doing is moving the 3rd of the chord up 1/2 step. So from here to here is a 1/2 step. So I move the 3rd up a 1/2 step. Now I'm going to be playing fingers 1, 4, 5. And it kind of has this suspended sound to it. Do you hear that? Kind of it moved the sound up. And oftentimes you'll see it written, or sometimes it sounds beautiful to come back, to resolve back to the major of the chord, to resolve back to the root of the chord. I don't know how to say that. So here's the sus, and then here's back to the resolve. Okay, so let's look at the next type of chord that I'm going to teach you, which is a split chord. So we have G over B, or you're going to see it or heard it pronounced slash chords or split chords. So all it means is G chord in my right hand over B single note. So G over B, G slash B is a chord over single note. Okay, so essentially if you look at the G chord, look at it makes GBD, right? we talked about. So when you're splitting out a sound, we already have B note in that chord, and all I'm essentially doing is splitting out that sound, okay? Before in our left hand, we're used to playing G to G, okay, with a split chord. Your ear and your hands are going to kind of memorize a little bit of a new way of connecting. They're going to create a new brain pathway, so to speak, okay? So G over B looks like this. All right, so that's what you could do with any slash or split chord, is just chord over single note. Okay, the next chord that they kind of use to fancy up this G chord, see, this is all in G, and I'm going to teach you a way that if you don't want to fancy up all of these, you could still simplify them, and you could still play this song and work towards the full extent. So G2 is the next chord. All I'm going to do is play 2 and no 3. So I'm going to play the second of the chord, no third. So it's G-A-D. Listen to that beautiful chord. It's kind of just this, kind of has more of an open sound. It's a little bit moody. So here's G2, and then they want to add a split to it. So remember, chord over single note is what our split chords are doing. So it's G2 over B. There's a little bit of dissonance there. Do you hear that friction that you're kind of hearing? Kind of a whole blend of notes there, right? Okay, so that is a G2 over B. Okay, so let's talk about, okay, that's 5 new chords, and I'm not even done teaching you all the beautiful chords I'm going to teach you in this song. If for any of those G chords, if you don't want to fancy them up, just take your paper and pen and cross out a sus. If you don't want to play the G sus, just play G chord, okay? If you don't want to play G5 like this, just play your G. Just strip it back down to the G chord. If you don't want to play G over B, just keep playing G chord. So do you see how you kind of revert back to the base of what chord it really was? So split chords, you could just play single chords, you know? Okay, so work towards those. Maybe choose one in the G section to add into this song. Maybe just choose G5. So every time you see the G5 on your chord sheet, play that and simplify all of the rest. When I began, I took my paper and pen, and it was messy. I was constantly crossing things out, writing little notes, jotting down what is a 5 doing to the chord, what is a split chord doing to the chord, so that I could begin to memorize these tools and get better and add more things as I went along. So that's what I'm wanting to do for you too. Okay, let's take a look at the C. So there's 3 different ways we're going to play the C chord, right? I said there was G, C, D. Those were the 3 major chords in the key of G, right? Are you with me? Okay, C chord. Let's just play that C, E, G. Okay, that's just a regular C chord. Okay, now they added a C2. Okay, if you remember from a G2, it's just playing the second, how I play it, is just playing the second, no 3. So we take out the third of the chord, and I just play the second note of the chord. So you kind of have that open sound again. So here's C2, a little bit of friction because these 2 notes are close together. I think that's where it causes a little bit of friction. Okay, and then the other one is a split chord. So C2 / E. So we're doing chord, remember, over left hand single note. So it's just C2 over E, E single note. So again, you're used to playing this happy C to C, right? Where this hand kind of lines up with the chord of this hand. That's how I taught you before. But now that you have this C2 over E, not only are you hearing that dissonance, there's a lot of things going on there, right? But you're also now playing a new note that doesn't essentially line up with our right hand. So your brain, your hand, everything's going to have to kind of learn this new pathway of learning. Okay, you can do it though. And for this song, I would suggest kind of keeping your pinky on G, lining up your 5 fingers in your left hand, and keeping your hand hear this whole song, okay? And then when you play that E, just simply open up for that E. Okay, so C2 over E, that's our split chord. Okay, let's take a look at the 3rd major chord grouping, I should say, the D chord. So let's just kind of go back. Okay, what is a D chord? Remember, it's a triangle shape. D, F sharp, A. Okay, and what a 4, this is called a D4. What I do for the 4 chords is I play the 4th finger. Whoops, sorry. I play the fourth of the chord and not the 3. So the third is omitted and I play the fourth. Sometimes people do open sound. They just play the 1 and the 4. But I kind of like the 1, 4, 5. Okay, so here's a D4. Okay, the next one is D7. So remember, we kind of go back to what's the bass? Here's D, okay? Now let's figure out what is that 7 doing to a chord. So if you're taking notes, the 7 moves the first of the chord, the first of the chord down 1 whole step. Okay, so from here to here is a half. Here to here is a half. 2 halves equal a whole, right? Okay, so here is D7. Kind of is an extended triangle. It's just opening up that first note a bit. Okay, so that's a D7. Then we have a D7 over G. Okay, that's a split chord. Remember, what is that doing? It's a chord over single note. So we already have the D7. Now let's just pick up the single G note. Okay, beautiful. All right, one more here with the D over F sharp. So we kind of just go back to the bass. Here's our D, right? So we're just moving from the thumb back into the original position of this D triangle. And then our F sharp is just going to be this single note. Might feel a little awkward to move that pinky down. That's how I'm going to play it, is just move that pinky down. I think it's only played one time through this whole song in the chorus. So D over F sharp. Again, it's just chord over single note. And you're splitting out the F sharp. F sharp is already in this D chord. So if that helps you, D, F sharp, A, and here's our splitting out of that F sharp sound. Okay. So an idea, and just like I mentioned with the G grouping and the C grouping, if you don't want to play the C2 over E, just play a C. Same thing with any of the Ds. If you don't want to play a 7, just strip it down, cross out that 7, and just play the D by itself. So all of those Ds that I just introduced, if you maybe just want to introduce the 4 chord, just play the D4 and strip out everything else and play D in its place. Okay, so when you see the D7, just play D. All right, and then our only minor in this whole song, which I love minor chords, is our E minor, and it's just E, G, B. Okay, nothing fancy with that chord. Okay, so I know I threw a lot at you. So before we even jump more into the tutorial, strip them down. I encourage you to not even introduce all of these into your song. Take your pencil, cross them out, pick 1 or 2 from each category, tops, and learn them, memorize the tool, get a new way of pathway learning between the hand and the brain. Maybe just pick 1 for the whole song. That's totally fine. And then work up to it. Okay. I also encourage you to just play right hand only when you're learning songs. I still do this to this day. If I'm learning a new song, I just kind of map through it and I block chord through it just one chord at a time. I don't worry about rhythm. I don't worry about tempo. I don't worry about playing or singing the right things all the time. I'm just kind of trying to map out where are my new chords, what are they, and I remove the left hand to keep it simple by doing that. So those are some steps that you can take to kind of take out that overwhelm as you work towards this extended one. All right, so I'm going to sing and play through verse 1 so you can hear how it sounds. It is so lovely. Here we go. When I am down and oh, my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burden be, then I am still and wait here in this silence until you come and sit a while with me. This one's so beautiful. Like I said, when you add in these color chords, did you hear the richness of that song? Did you hear just the openness of that G5 starting us out? When I am down and oh, moved into that sus, my soul's so, back to the G5. Work with me here. Weary, when troubles. Okay, let's take a look at that split chord, G over B. Come and, okay, C2. My heart burden. Okay, there's a couple things you could do with this D4. You can go B. Like I said, you can resolve back to the D triangle. Or you can leave it hanging. B. Kind of leaves a sense of wonder if you don't connect it back to that D, but that's okay. You know, that's what's fun about chording is there's a lot of flexibility. There's so much freedom. Find that freedom in your playing to just be creative. Try new things. All right, so there's that D4. Okay, let's go to the line 3, C2. Then I am still and C. Wait here in the G2 over B. Silence. Ooh, that's beautiful. C chord. Until you, G chord, come. And, okay, here's that D7 over G in the bass. Sit a while with G, me. Okay, I know this is maybe a bit off topic, but not really. I want to talk about the chord shapes. So just like we learn, 1, 3, 5 on a G chord, essentially this shape could be frozen. We could freeze this hand, move it to the C position, and there's our C chord, right? And then we could move it up. I mean, you could just freeze this shape and you kind of can play lots of different chords with that shape, that every other note. The same thing goes when you are playing C2. When you're playing that 2, look at how you kind of have a shape. You have this 1, 2, and 5. When you play a G2, all you have to do is freeze this shape. And there's G2. See how the shape is the same. So if you begin to kind of realize that there are patterns, there are shapes, there are symbols, there are repetition, there's things that repeat over and over and over, it helps kind of see the music as the beauty and simplicity that it can be while still having so much complexity to it, right? So kind of that's just kind of a side note, is there's a lot of shapes within adding these color chords back in, these extended chords back in. All right. Okay, I know that was a lot. Take a deep breath. You're done with the verse 1. So verse 2 and 1 are the same exact thing, okay? There is no repetition in verse 1 or 2. Like sometimes you see lines 1 and 3 repeating. For this song, you don't, okay? All right, let's take a look at that chorus. E minor starts us out. Remember I said keep your pinky on G, line up your 5 fingers, and I'm going to move my E and open up there. I don't want to move my hand out of position because you kind of you get discombobulated. You're like, what? Where was I at? And can't kind of have a reference point of where to come back to. So this E to E minor is going to start us out. You raise me up so C chord I can stand on G over B. Mountains. Here's that D over F sharp, pinky note. You raise me, E minor, and this is just repeating lines 1 chords, okay? Up to C chord, walk on stormy, G over B, C's D, and I am G, strong when C2 over E. I am on your G over D, shoulders, G over B. Oh, sorry. This, I don't know if I taught you the G over B. Let me look at my notes. I might not have taught you the G over D. I apologize. So it's a split chord, right? G over D. So shoulders is going to be a chord change per shoulders, per syllable, okay? So shoulders, and then transition into that C. So it goes shoulders, C. again. Up to D7, and your left hand is already there. More than I can. Back to the G. B. Okay. I know that was a lot thrown at you. Go back and watch this video in just segments. Maybe just tackle the verse. Remove the left hand altogether. Choose 1 or 2 new extended chords that you can add into this piece. Cross out the rest for the time being and work towards the full thing. It's beautiful in its entirety, but it's so fun to work towards getting that and memorize the tools in the way. Along the way, I should say. All right, I'm going to play it beginning to end. I'm going to try to play it slow so that you can play along with me. When you mess up, because you will, I still do, find your next chord, find your next syllable, the next line that you can just hop in with me. Don't give up. Keep working through this piece by piece. You'll get it. I promise, and I believe in you. All right, here we go. When I am down and oh, my soul's so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in this silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong and I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart beats so imperfectly. But when you come and I am filled with wonder, sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up so I can cut stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. And I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me